This is Kyle Wright, and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Welcome into On Deck. I'm Tyler Redmond. As always, thank you so much for checking out the channel. I do appreciate it while you're here. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck. And, of course, with the Atlanta Braves, of course, a very big series tonight between the, as aforementioned, Braves and the Los Angeles Dodgers. And this means a lot to Braves fans, and, of course, now means a lot to Dodgers fans as well, because this is a rivalry that has been going on for the past 4 or 5 years, since about 2018. We're all familiar with that year. That's the first year the Braves were able to win a game in the postseason or even go to the postseason back in 2018. They won one game against the Dodgers that year with Acuna hitting a grand slam. Since then, it's been pretty back and forth. The Dodgers won in 2020. The Braves, of course, went on to win the World Series in 2021. So it's going to be a very fun series. It's going to be a very interesting series. Of course, there's a lot of storylines going on behind the scenes. We all know about the offseason acquisitions of Freddie Freeman to the Dodgers and Matt Olson to the Braves, and Kenley Jansen to the Braves as well. There's been a lot of movement, there's been a lot of talks, and there's been a lot of talk about what could happen if these teams got on the field. So now that we're here, let's talk about tonight. It will be Huascar Ynoa taking on Clayton Kershaw. Now, we all know that Clayton Kershaw most recently had a almost, could have been maybe a perfect game. He was 80 pitches in, and he was taken out. So Clayton Kershaw is obviously having a pretty good year so far. On the flip side, Huascar Ynoa, not so much. It's been pretty rough. We talked extensively prior to the season about what Ynoa could be, whether he would be the first half of 2021 Ynoa or the second half. So far, he has been the second half. He has not been what we were hoping for. And to be honest with you, I don't know what we're going to get tonight. I hope we see a rebound. But I've talked also about possibly Huascar Ynoa moving to the pen, based on what we've seen out of Bryce Elder, based on what we know Tucker Davidson can do, based on what we know Kyle Muller could possibly do. We have guys that can fill that starting rotation, and it may not need to be a six-man rotation. Now, that's just temporary. When it comes to tonight, I think Huascar Ynoa has got to have a rebound game, and that's what you're going to be looking for. He does have some experience versus the Dodgers, and that's a good sign. But at the end of the day, he's facing off against Clayton Kershaw, and the Braves' offense is going to have to perform. And we all know that the Braves offense has struggled at times. Of course, Dansby Swanson, Eddie Rosario, Alex Dickerson. We all know that they've struggled. But the good news is, and I've said this before, but I'll continue to say it, Marcel Ozuna, Matt Olson, I'll even throw in Ozzie Albies, have been phenomenal. I believe Matt Olson is leading the National League. That's the situation. Now, what do I expect tonight? I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I'm very good at predicting a season. I'm pretty good at predicting, far out. It's hard to predict a one-game thing. I know a lot of people are going to ask me, do I think the Braves are going to win tonight? Do I think they're going to win the series? We'll see. They lost the series against the Padres. They need to perform tonight. Of course, the Dodgers have a winning record, and the Braves are struggling right now. It's early. It's hard to know what it's going to be as time goes on. But for right now, it's not doing so hot for the Braves. For the Dodgers, they've had a pretty fun opening few series, right? So hopefully we'll see the Braves win tonight. But for right now, that's where we're at. A lot of storylines going in. I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to be talking about it. Of course, the game doesn't come on until 10:10 p.m., which is why we are here. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you like the video on your way in. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're a familiar face, welcome back. But we, of course, do weekly streams at least once a week. We try to do more than that as much as I possibly can. We try to talk Braves baseball with you as much as I can and give you as much information as I can as well. So a lot going on tonight. Going to be a fun game to watch. I hope you guys will stay up and watch it. It's going to be a late one because it's on the West Coast, but it'll be a good one too. So it'll be worth it, I hope. Let's go ahead and talk about what you guys want to talk about in the comment section below, starting out with Zach's Sports Cards and Collectibles. Zach, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a sports card and collectible fan, so if you got anything that I can have, let me know. He says, go Atlanta Braves. Hopefully they do well for you, Zach. Yasuki Knight says, should be interesting to see what happens. It should very well be interesting as to see what happens. You know what? As curious as I am to see what happens with Huascar Ynoa and the Braves offense, I'm curious to see what Clayton Kershaw does, because he is coming off of 6 perfect innings at 80 pitches? I mean, he is looking good. I'm curious to see if it's going to last. That's what I'm curious about. Skylar Baker, do you think this game goes over 9.5 runs? I honestly hope not, because I think it's going to sound bad, Skylar, but Clayton looks so good in his last start. I don't think the Braves are going to score that many runs on him. I think that for the Braves to win tonight, you're going to have to see Huascar keep it below 3, right? You're going to have to see that. I could be wrong. I mean, the Braves offense is known to explode, but based on what I've seen out of Clayton Kershaw lately, I don't know that that's going to be the case. So I would predict no, and I really hope it's a no, because if there is that many runs, I think it would actually be done on Huascar as opposed to Clayton Kershaw. So I think the runs got to be kept down, and your offense has got to perform in key moments. And I really want to see Rosario break out. I really want to see Swanson break out. Alex Dickerson, it'd be nice if he had a game too. I mean, that's what I really want to see. And I know a lot of you guys have really hammered in on Alex Dickerson, right? You're mad about Rosario not performing. You're mad about Dansby being streaky. I've heard all of that. But a lot of you guys are really honing in on Alex Dickerson. And I understand it. But keep in mind, we all know what's going to happen. Acuna is on his way back. I believe his first rehab start is tomorrow night. His first rehab assignment, rather, is tomorrow night in Gwinnett. So if you're around Gwinnett and you want to see Ronald Acuna up close and personal, I really recommend going to see him in Gwinnett. It'll be a fun watch, I promise. And it's a great experience if you've never been before. I try to go at least a couple times a year. I may make my way down there at some point this week. But for right now, we got to worry about who's on the field right now. And a lot of you guys are going really hard on Alex Dickerson. Keep in mind, he had to show something at spring training for him to be in that roster. No doubt about it in my mind, and I think you really need to slow down. He might have the game of his life. You know, he might break out and, kill it offensively for a few weeks and carry the team. You just never know. I will say that it has been quite frustrating lately to see what's been going on with him and, of course, a couple of the other players that we expected to really, break out and be consistent early on. Eddie Rosario's number one for me because I'm used to Dansby being kind of streaky. I'm pretty used to that. Not so used to Eddie Rosario struggling the way he is. But, sometimes that happens. A lot of people got him on their radar, coming off of last postseason and all the heroics he was able to do. You got to think he's going to be the guy that a lot of people target heavily, when they're making their pregame, and you can't blame them. So that's how I feel about the offense. Hopefully it improves. I'm sure it will. I have no doubt about it. Ozuna has come out of nowhere and just been the Ozuna that left off. When he left, he's come back and been that guy. So, that's been nice to see. It's been good to see Matt Olson get a good start. I said the other day that, those are the two guys that really needed a good start in an Atlanta uniform this year, and they have gotten it. So, hopefully that continues, and hopefully it, gets even better as time goes on. Jameson, good to see you, man. Rail Fanning Jonah says, hey, go Braves. Jameson says, have you watched Beat Bobby Flay before Jonah? I have not. Yasuki Knight, go Braves. Zach says he is so glad that Matt Olson is at first base. Go Atlanta Braves. Jameson says go Braves. Preston Young asks a real question. He says, is Ynoa better than Tucker Davidson? Hard to know because Tucker is so young, right? I mean, we've seen Ynoa be great. We've seen him be not so great. I like to show this graphic. This is 2021 for Huascar Ynoa before and after his hand injury last year. And it's very up and down, right? 9 games on both ends. Innings pitched 44-46, but the win-loss record. He went from 4-2 to 0-4. He struck out just as many, but he walked a little bit more, and he didn't get as many strikeouts. The ERA was up. It's like he just could not come in clutch when he needed to. The stats are unfortunate because I think Huascar is actually a pretty good pitcher. He's a dang good hitter, too. So it's hard to know. We haven't seen either one's peak yet. I think that's where I'm at. So I don't know how exactly it's going to be. But at the end of the day, we'll see how it ages. But that's how I view it right now. But yeah, Tucker Davidson, a little too young for me to call him better. Either one of them better. I think it's hard to say because, again, I don't think we've seen the peak. And to be honest with you, I don't know what would have happened had Ynoa not gotten injured. Last year. So we'll see how that goes. But for right now, it's really hard to say. I think they're too young to tell, and only time will. So we'll see how it goes. Skylar Baker says Clayton should look pretty good tonight. I would assume, right? And I'm kind of interested to see it myself, to see what he is tonight, because I can't help but wonder. And you know, a lot of you guys aren't going to like this, but as a baseball fan, I want Clayton Kershaw to look good. I want Clayton Kershaw to be the Clayton Kershaw of the past. Maybe not as a Braves fan, but there is some part of me that wants there to be some consistency in these older guys. We all saw it's good for the game, right? Mike Trout just got hurt. Not good for the game, right? These older players, you know, I think it's great that Pujols has made a return to St. Louis. Doesn't happen all the time, you know, and I think that kind of thing is great. And I think it's great when Clayton Kershaw is at his fullest potential. Again, not necessarily when he's playing the Braves, but I would like to see him be at least a good starting pitcher. Not to say I want him to win the game, because I certainly do not. However, I would like to see him throw 6 good innings. And good is relative. You know, 1 or 2 runs wouldn't hurt. But I would like, you know, Clayton Kershaw to be good. Same way I want, you know, any pitcher that's, you know, means a lot to baseball, right? I think it's good for the sport, and I think it's important for the sport to have those guys that can perform. With that said, we're rooting for the Braves tonight. So Jonathan's tuning in. He says, go Braves. Dylan Gantz tuning in. He says he has a feeling Freddie is about to go off this series. He has looked okay. I will say this. I don't really like comparing the two, but Matt Olson is, I believe, beating him in almost every stat right now. And that doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's so early in the season, hardly any stat matters. But Matt Olson has had a better start to the year. You know, to be fair, he is at home. To be fair, so is Freddie Freeman. But we'll see how it goes. I think, you know, Freddie, if history tells us anything, you know, Freddie's obviously a great player, but a lot of former players tear up the Braves when they come back to town or when they come back to face Atlanta. So, again, we'll see how it goes, and only time will tell. Anyone see Freddie Freeman fighting back tears talking about his departure from Atlanta today on ESPN? That man is for real heartbroken. He's a Dodger. I feel bad for my man, fan since 91. Well, you started out on a great year in 1991. Of course, that's the worst of first year. Great time to become a Braves fan at that point, just like right now is a great time to be a Braves fan. Am I right? I didn't personally see it. I was too busy kind of getting the stream set up and working today. It doesn't surprise me, because that's kind of the common thread of, you know, Freddie Freeman comments is holding back tears, emotional about leaving, but also happy to be a Dodger some way or another. I think it's unfortunate that that's how the situation went down. I wish it would have went down a different way, but at the same time, it's baseball, it's a business, and we got to move forward. You know, a lot of you guys probably saw my tweet earlier. You know, there's been a lot of people still targeting Freddie Freeman and his family for some reason. I don't understand it. I think it's time to move on. You know, just because he posts a picture in a Dodger uniform does not call for any kind of, you know, it just doesn't call for the comments that are out there, and you know what I'm talking about. I think that's unfortunate. I think, you know, at this point he's at Los Angeles Dodgers. He's part of that organization. Every picture he's going to post from now until the end of his career is probably going to be in a Dodgers uniform or in some other uniform. And I think we need to accept it and move on. I tweeted that earlier. A lot of you guys retweeted it, liked it. I appreciate that. But at the same time, I mean it. You know, it's time to move on. It's time to, you know, give Freddie his ovation when he returns to Atlanta in a couple weeks, and let's move on. You know, it's at the end of the day, guys. They had to make a decision for their family. They made it. The Braves made their decisions, honestly, first before Freddie did. And it is what it is. There's no good guy. There's no bad guy. It's just a situation that took place. It's time to move on. But that's how I feel about it. Thanks for that question. I do appreciate it. And I appreciate you being a fan since 1991 as well there, M. Jameson says he can't wait to see Freddie Freeman play against his former team. I think part of me wants to say it's going to be kind of fun. If you guys remember the him and Anthony Rizzo, you know, pitching and hitting against each other last year, I think, you know, I'd like to see Freed versus Freddie. You know, honestly, hopefully Freddie strikes out or grounds out or just gets a clean single, you know, and keeps it to a minimum. But, you know, we'll see. I don't know how it's going to go. I'm really looking forward to watching it, obviously. And I think, you know, a lot of the Braves are looking forward to seeing Freddie Freeman, you know. So we'll see how it goes. But I think it's going to be a fun watch, and I can't wait to see it either. Dylan Gant says, Ynoa has more upside than Tucker to me. Ynoa, when on, is filthy. I want to believe that, right? Like, I remember when Ynoa was at his peak last year. You know, I mean, I was there for it. I remember this. I recorded this. I was there. I agree with you. When Ynoa is on, he is absolutely filthy. He's a consistent pitcher. He was arguably the Braves' most consistent pitcher at the beginning of the year last year. Now, that has changed. It is not the case anymore, and hopefully it flips back. But for right now, I need to see some major improvements quickly out of Huascar Ynoa, because the hand injury is over. He's back on the field. You know, it's been healed up. He came back last year, and it's not like he came back at the tail end of last year and just accepted it. He played just as much on the back end of that year as he did on the front end. It's time for him to show up, you know, and I need him to do that because I want to believe in Huascar Ynoa. I need to see something tonight. I need to see something at least in the next 2 starts. Otherwise, I'm looking at other options. And, you know, Tucker isn't necessarily that option. Tucker, I think, got blown up in AAA the other day. But, you know, he's a good back end of the rotation guy, but he's 0-2 right now. You know, and if tonight goes wrong, he could be 0-3. So, again, we'll see how it goes. I believe he's got like a 15 ERA right now. That's got to come down a lot, and it's so early. I mean, it really is. The shortened spring training does him no favors, I'm sure. It doesn't do anybody any favors to have a short spring training. But we'll see. We'll see. Dylan also says that Dickerson is hitting the ball hard for the most part. And that's what I'm saying, right? Like, I think a lot of what Dickerson is doing is good. It's just unfortunate. Now, his fielding could use some improvement. But, you know, he's hitting the ball hard. A lot of it's luck. I hate to say it, but a lot of it is. Where the ball lands is, you know, you're hitting a ball that's 102 miles an hour. Hard to control exactly where it goes. And he's hitting it right at people. So, we'll see. I don't think he's going to be a permanent fixture, not even on the bench, to tell you the truth. I just don't. I think he is a temporary solution until Ronald Acuna comes back. That's probably going to be sooner rather than later. And you know, Ozuna is DHing tonight. Don't know how many of you guys caught that. That's what I've been calling for since the start of the season, is for Ozuna to DH. So we'll see. But right now, I think Dickerson is, again, he's a temporary fix and an otherwise, you know, consistent lineup. I mean, you know who's going to be in the Braves lineup, right? You know it's going to be Eddie Rosario, Matt Olson, Dansby Swanson, Marcel Ozuna, Austin Riley. You know, you know the faces. I don't think Alex Dickerson is one of those guys. Ronald Acuna is coming back. Make no mistake about it. He will be back, and he's going to take that spot. I don't know if Dickerson's going to be on the bench or not, but for right now, I would venture to say probably not, because I don't see Guillermo Heredia going anywhere. I think he's too well liked, and whether you guys like me saying that or not, that means something to somebody. And I genuinely think that that's the case right now. So tonight, the lineup, in case you're wondering, I mentioned that Marcel Ozuna is DHing. It's going to be Ozzie Albies leading off. I like that. Matt Olson in 2, Austin Riley 3rd, Ozuna 4th, DHing, Adam Duvall in center field, d'Arnaud behind the plate, Orlando Arcia on left, Guillermo's playing right field tonight, and of course, Dansby will be at shortstop. So, no Alex Dickerson in the lineup tonight, and that's why I don't think he's going to be on the bench. I mean, the offense hasn't been there, whether or not he's hitting the ball hard or not. I mean, it hasn't been there, and they're giving him a day off because of it. Again, I misspoke. I said Huascar Ynoa is 0-2. He is 0-1 with a 15 ERA. He's got 4 strikeouts. On the flip side, Clayton Kershaw, he's 1-0 with a 0 ERA and 13 strikeouts. So they both had one game. One went really well, and the other went really, not so well. Hopefully it's the other way around tonight. But for the Dodgers, it will be Mookie Betts leading off with former Atlanta Brave Freddie Freeman at first, Trey Turner, Max Muncy, Justin Turner, Will Smith, Cody Bellinger, Edwin Rios, and Gavin Lux. So it's going to be a fun night. I mean, we know this team well. We know the Dodgers extremely well. When they used to beat up on us when the Braves were in the rebuild, when they beat up on us in the postseason a few years ago, when they beat us last year or the year before. It's been tough for the Braves to face the Dodgers. Tonight, make no mistake about it, is a statement series. This is a statement series. This is going to mean something. It's going to be talked about. It's going to be brought up on ESPN. It's going to be brought up on MLB Network. They're going to see articles all over social media about it, especially if there's a sweep, right? If the Braves or the Dodgers somehow sweep the other, there will be talk about it till the end of time, at least until they face each other in October. You will see talk about this a lot, and it's not going away. So that's what I am looking to see more than likely after this series. If they split it, okay, but somebody's coming out on the front end of it. Somebody's going to win this series. Hopefully it's the Braves. I think if it's the Dodgers, it'll be talked about a lot more, but hopefully it's the Braves. Let's see. William Fogum says, Olson, 8-inning, 3-run bomb to take the lead. Jansen closes it out. Ynoa gives up 4. That's a pretty good prediction. I wouldn't mind it if it happened. Willie T's Revival says, I can think of 5 guys in AAA more deserving than Dickerson. I want you to list those 5 guys, and I'll tell you if they're more deserving than Alex Dickerson. Richard Davis says, big question is, how long do the Braves stay with Rosario and Dickerson? I'd say about the time Acuna comes up, DeShields might also. See, I don't think so. I think they're paying Rosario a little too much for that because, and you're not going to like that, and I understand that, but I genuinely think they're paying Rosario too much to just throw away like that, right? I mean, we've talked about Rosario a lot, and I really don't think that that's fair because, I mean, you look at his deal, he's going to be here for 2 years, $18 million. He's not being paid that to be sent down. He's just not. He's going to be an everyday player. Now, he might have a day off, but until it's just unmistakable that he has fallen off, they're not going to take him out. At least I don't see it. Now, I will say he's not in the lineup tonight, and that is what it is, but I don't see them just sending him down. Again, he is struggling, but I think it's a temporary thing. When you're paying this guy this much, he's got to do something. He can't ride the bench, and he can't be in AAA. That's how I feel about it. And I know a lot of people don't like that. They don't care about the money, but it's also not their money. So I'm telling you, the Braves are going to play Eddie Rosario. He may come and pinch hit tonight, but he will be on the roster in some regard. I just don't see him being taken down. But that's how I feel about it right now. All right, C-Stu says, I don't know the specific stat, but Rosario is known to put the ball in play, but not strong hits. His hits are just not falling in the holes. See, and that's a lot of what Alex Dickerson is battling. It's something that Freddie Freeman battled last year. You know, this happens, baseball has a way of humbling you, and they're humbling the Braves offense right now in some regard. So we'll see how it goes, but that's how I feel about it, and hopefully the baseball gods shine a little light on the Braves offense tonight. Jameson wants to know the score prediction tonight. I really don't like doing score predictions because the moment I'm wrong, you guys are going to, screenshot me and tweet me and all that. But if I had to give you an educated guess with Kershaw pitching, I mean, I don't think the runs are going to be high. If the Braves win, I think it's going to be like 5-3. If the Dodgers win, I think it could be 1-0. I mean, based on what the offense has done lately. It's hard to say, but that's what I'm going to go with. If the Dodgers win 1 or 2-0, maybe 2-1, but if the Braves win 5-3, that's where I'm going with, just based on who's on the mound and what the offenses have done. Preston Young wants to know, am I high on Tucker Davidson? I've only seen one good start from him, so I'm not very high on him. I like Ynoa a lot because he proved what he can do. Sure, but what has he done for you lately? That's the question you got to ask. And I know that's not necessarily the question you want to ask. I get it, because Ynoa did have a very good start to his 2021 season last year. Again, one of the most consistent pitchers the Braves had at the beginning of last year. I get that. I get it 100%. I like Huascar Ynoa. Him hitting a grand slam last year was something that I think is very memorable. A lot of people like him because of what he did on the mound, and I get it completely. However, I think Tucker Davidson is the future. Think about how good Kyle Wright's been this year, right? He's been a different pitcher than he was last year in 2020. A lot of that's maturity. Tucker Davidson hasn't had the opportunity to mature like that. And just like Kyle Wright has struggled at different times. He's been really good at certain times. Huascar Ynoa has had those opportunities to mature. And I need to see an improvement soon. I'm not saying he's done. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying I need to see an improvement soon. And I think it's going to happen. I mean, you have ebbs and flows no matter if you're hitting, no matter if you're pitching. You're going to have those ebbs and flows. So hopefully, it'll flow and not ebb, if you get what I'm saying. So right now, I am high on Tucker Davidson. I think he's going to be a future starter for the Atlanta Braves, and I won't back down from that. So yeah, to answer your question, absolutely. Skylar Baker says it seems all the teams in the NL East aren't hitting that well right now. Well, that's because all the pitching in the NL East is really good, right? You look at the Mets, DeGrom, Scherzer, right? You look at the Braves, Fried, Morton. They haven't had a great start, but they've had some back end, guys on the back end pull it out. The NL East is built on pitching for the most part. They have some great offenses, don't get me wrong, but they are built on pitching. And when you have a shortened spring training, things like this happen. And MLB won't tell you that. They won't promote that because they don't want you to remember the lockout. But I'm telling you, that has a major effect. It has a major effect on pitchers too. And right now, that's what's happening. And I think that's probably affecting Fried and Morton right now, to tell you the truth. I hope it wears off, but you can't tell me that there's not some effect, some hangover from that. I just won't believe you if you tell me that. So that's how I feel about it. Again, hopefully they can move past it rather quickly, but for right now, it's a little bit tough. Richard Davis says next week will be a little bit easier for the Braves, hopefully, but when Acuna comes back May 6th, they will take off. Everybody's saying that. Everybody's hoping for that. I just don't want the expectation to be unreachable. I think Ronald Acuna is a great player, but he can't put a whole team on his back and carry him to victory. The entire team, the entire lineup has got to perform. That's up and down. Rosario's got to come out of the gate. Swanson's got to find his groove. They have all got to contribute. I mean, guys like Austin Riley have been doing well all year long. Matt Olson, again, all year long. Ozuna, he's had a couple of big swings here and there, and he's doing pretty well offensively just in general. I think once he moves to the DH spot, he'll do even better. Ozzie Albies has been great. I still think if Ozzie Albies would stop switch hitting, he'd win an MVP, much like how Cedric Mullins had a big turnaround when he stopped doing it. But at the same time, I don't mind him switch hitting all that much. But for right now, yeah, I think that when Acuna comes back on May 6th, around May 6th, that's not official, but if that was to be the case, it's only a couple weeks away. The Braves have got to do something prior to that. I mean, they got to win some ball games. But for right now, yeah, I'm looking forward to when Acuna comes back. I think we're all looking forward to when Acuna comes back because I don't think there's any mistaking right now. He is, the lifeblood of the organization right now. Now that Freddie Freeman has moved on, I think he is, maybe not, I don't like using the word leader because I think a lot of those guys can be leaders and are leaders in the locker room more than likely, but I think he is, something that somebody that a lot of those players bounce off of. The energy, they bounce off that energy. Ozzie Albies, one of those people. Eddie Rosario, I think would be one of those people. So we'll see how it goes, but for right now, I'm really looking forward to when Acuna comes back. I'm looking forward to when Soroka comes back. Kirby Yates when he makes his debut for the Braves. There's a lot of guys that I'm looking forward to seeing, and we'll have to see how they play when they get back. Tice Thompson, he says he's got Kershaw on his fantasy team, so I hope he does pretty good, but not good enough to win. I want to say I have a Dodger or two on my fantasy team as well, so don't feel too bad. Everybody around me seems to pick the Braves, knowing that's what I would do. I did pick up Jock Peterson, but he got postponed today. Hate to see it. But yeah, I want to say I had somebody, but I can't remember. I might have dropped him, whoever it was. Oh, Chris Taylor. I got Chris Taylor and Max Muncy. So, I got him on my team too, but that doesn't mean I'm rooting for him. Maybe they can get a couple of hits or, and nobody else knock them in or something. Trinity Clark said, "What's up, everybody? Go Bravos. Good to see you, Trinity. Glad to see you in the chat tonight." Elijah Smith says, I don't want to be negative for tonight, but Ynoa versus Kershaw kind of scares the mess out of me tonight. I would agree. I mean, you're talking about a definite future Hall of Famer in Clayton Kershaw versus a guy that's been, again, up and down, and there's no doubt about that. I mean, he has been up and down. And this is last year. He's been much like that second half here lately. And I would love to see Ynoa come out and get a win against Clayton Kershaw tonight. But right now it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. I think Kershaw is on his game. He's coming off of a year that, Kershaw was injured last year. I don't even think he pitched in any postseason game, certainly not against the Braves, so he's obviously got some motivation. And guys like that, guys that have had that level of success, have a certain level of expectation, a certain drive, right? I mean, I call it the Michael Jordan effect. they just have that mentality. And I think Kershaw's got a little bit of that. I think he wants to perform. Now, with that said, I'm surprised he got taken out after 80 pitches the other day. But, especially with a perfect game going. But at the same time, I think he wants to win. I think he wants to perform. And I think he wants to succeed. So we'll see how it goes. But for right now, yeah, I'm a little worried too. But that's what we play the games for, is to see how they go, right? So we'll watch tonight. So before I go any further, guys, I got to pay the bills real quick. I want to promote this. A lot of you guys saw it on the community page, I know. Will Smith will be doing a signing in Marietta at Ducks Dugout. The balls, obviously the pricing's all right there. Balls, flats, jerseys, inscriptions, all that stuff. For more information, go to ducksdugout.com. I will be there on Thursday night. It is Thursday night. I believe the start time's about 5:30. So make sure you are there and you get to meet the guy closed out the World Series. What else can you ask for? He's former closer, but he's still on the team, and he's still a pretty good relief pitcher coming out of the pen, no doubt about it. And I'm really looking forward to meeting him. Hopefully we'll get an interview done and get you some content on the channel and ask all the tough questions. I'm just kidding. But, looking forward to that. Make sure you're there. Again, ducksdugout.com. They're on Facebook, and, of course, they're on the regular internet as well. You can see all their inventory from past signings and future signings as well that I can't tell you about just yet. So let's move on. Let's go ahead and move on to the next comment. C-Stew says, I really like watching Spencer Strider, yet they threw him 60 pitches, and I think his endurance shows he's more of a reliever versus starter. I don't disagree with you. I think in college he was a starter, but at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that, that's how it's going to be in the majors, right? So we'll see. I don't know, though, because I think, a lot of these guys got their start in the pen. Even Max Fried got his start in the pen. Tucker Davidson started in the pen. Kyle Muller came out of the pen, I believe, once or twice. So it's going to be hard to know. He's so young. He's so new to the game. He's looked great out of the pen, though. And with the Braves bullpen specifically, I don't know that they're going to need him long-term in the bullpen. Now, that could change. We've seen injuries left and right. The first two guys up there, Kirby Yates and Luke Jackson, are both injured. Luke Jackson out for the year, Kirby Yates at least out for half. So, yeah, anything can change. But, he's been great out of the pen so far. I just don't know that long-term they're going to need him out of the pen, and they might want him to be a starter. Everybody wants a pitcher to start out as a starter, right? They want to make sure that you can't be a starter before they move you to the pen, right? If you have that kind of endurance to go 5 or 6 innings, they want you to be a starter. That's just how Major Leagues works. But, right now he's being groomed as a bullpen piece, so we'll see how it goes. But for right now, that's how I see it. Louis S. says, Freddie, he's going to hit the ball for sure. I remember being a kid, not to make some of you feel old, I'm sorry, but I remember being a kid after Dan Uggla got let loose from the Braves, and he was on the Nationals, and he killed the Braves. It seems to, Kurt Suzuki a few years ago. It seems to be that every time somebody leaves, they just kill the Braves whenever they come back or whenever they face the Braves again. I hope that's not the case. I hope, Freddie just gets a couple of hits maybe, has a smile, and moves on, right? Richard Davis says, Freddie, all right, Richard, here we go. Freddie only has Freddie to blame. He got greedy. Don't care what he says. Facts are facts. All right, we're moving on from the Freddie conversation because I'm tired of talking about it myself. He also says that Ozuna is a DH tonight because of a lefty, 2 right-handed pitchers in the lineup. Yes, sir. Matthew Brubacher, I hope I got your name right. I apologize if I don't. He says Ynoa needs to go to AAA for Tucker Davidson after this start. Calling it. Maybe, but just remember Tucker Davidson did not have the best outing the other day in Gwinnett. Hey, before we move any further, please do me a favor, like the video. Helps me broaden it out to obviously a broader audience, and helps me grow the channel, and of course makes the chat just a little bit more engaging. If you want your question answered now, the only way to do that is, of course, super chatting. So that's the only way I can guarantee that I can answer your question right now. We will be going live until about 10 o'clock because the Braves come on at 10:10. They will be taking on the Dodgers once again, and it'll be a fun game. But before you go, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and of course, if you haven't already, hit that bell so that you get notified when I go live, when I drop something new, whatever the case may be. Hit that bell so that you know. But of course, like the video while you can. I do appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. It helps the algorithm, and of course helps me directly. All right, Jesus, good to hear from you, man. He says, hey, all, he's back from studying. Well, you keep your studying. I have been studying all week. I graduate college in 3 weeks, so hopefully we pass. I'm just kidding. I'm sure we will. Bargain says, I don't understand us using Dickerson at DH. Is he really the best option for DH right now? Well, Ozuna is DH tonight. Dickerson's not in the lineup, so that should give you some peace. But for right now, you could potentially go to somebody in the minors, but I mean, they've obviously been compared by Snit, by Ron Washington, by Walt Weiss. They've been compared, to those guys and analyzed by the guys that got eyes on these guys every day. So who am I to question that? But yeah, I mean, there's some guys that I think have more upside than Dickerson, but I don't know if they're ready right now to be better than Dickerson tomorrow. I don't think that's fair to ask out of a guy like Michael Harris. I mean, there's guys down there, but I don't know that they would be any better as of right now. I think that's a bit unfair, and I don't think the Braves want to expose them to major leagues just yet. But we'll see. Let's see. Sparrow Empire, good to hear from you. You're a new face. I hope you've subscribed. He says, come on, man. 7-2 Dodgers if LA wins. Maybe. I mean, I'm just throwing out a number here, man. I'm giving you a guesstimate. I'm a Braves channel. I have to give us some upside. But yeah, I mean, it could easily happen that way. I don't know. If it's me, I mean, I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I would venture to say it's probably going to be more like 5-2, and then or 5-3 if the Braves win, somewhere around that. And then if the Dodgers win, I think it'll be something like 3-1. I just do. I think it could be. I think they could hold the Braves to a lot less. I think whoever gets the early lead is going to win the game. Strictly Losses said we could DH Ynoa. Yeah, I did a video last year after he hit the grand slam. And I kind of used it as a way to encourage MLB not to use the full-time DH. I mean, look at this moment. This is a great moment. I tried, but they didn't listen. But we got to move on, move forward. I wouldn't mind, I think Max Fried's the best hitting pitcher in all of Major League Baseball. I really do. Huascar Ynoa's had some good moments, but Max Fried's, of course, probably going to be the last Silver Slugger pitcher. So we'll see, but yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. I think once Acuna returns, it'll be Ozuna, and then they'll move on. But we'll see. Hitman, good to hear from you. He says, do you think we get rid of Newcomb once the rosters get shortened in May? I do. As of right now, I do. To be honest with you, I'm starting to think it's going to be Dickerson and Newcomb. At least that's what I was thinking a couple days ago. Depending on Huascar Ynoa's start tonight, being that he is a righty. We have a lot of righties, and if he's not going to be a starter, he's got to be a bullpen piece, and they could potentially value Newcomb's, frankly, just being a lefty. They could value that over Ynoa. I don't think so, but I'm just giving you what is a possibility. I don't view that as a possibility. Let me make that clear. But that is how certain things could happen. In that thought process, and I could understand it, but I don't necessarily agree with it. Right now, I'm going Dickerson, Newcomb. But then again, when Acuna comes back, somebody else has got to go down, right? So it'll be a consistent thing where I think you're going to see some shuffling. Richard Davidson says, Tucker Davidson got bombed Saturday. Yep, it will be a while before he gets back up unless someone gets hurt. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think he needs to be given some time in AAA for right now. That's kind of why I'm all right with giving everybody their chances before we go to him. I think he just needs some time. He hasn't gotten that preparation. I think Kyle Wright's a perfect example of what preparation can do for somebody. I mean, you're talking about a guy who in 2020 got absolutely shelled in NLCS Game 3 in Texas, to a guy that had a very up and down year last year, to a guy who went to the World Series and had a great appearance, and now to a guy who has two really good starts to start off the 2022 season. So I think preparation is key there. And I think, a lot of Kyle Wright's journey has been that preparation. Now, granted, it's only 2 starts, but I think the future is bright for Kyle Wright. I really do. Strictly Losses says, I don't know, Ronald almost single-handedly drugged the Braves to 500 last year before injury. Single-handedly is a bit of a stretch. I think, again, the momentum is there, but he's one guy in the lineup. If he gets on base, somebody's got to knock him in. If he hits a home run, it's one run, right? It's one guy. Everybody's got to contribute. When the Braves do well, it's when they're all hitting. It's when they're all performing. It's when you get a double and then a single to not drive them in, right? That's when the Braves do well. So I get what you're saying. I get, Acuna is an exciting player, and I'm all for that. Don't get me wrong. But I need to see Rosario break out. I need to see Swanson break out. I need to see some excitement out of the dugout. Right now, I'm not seeing a whole lot of that, and I hope that changes. Buggin says, what side do you prefer Albies hitting since you think he would produce more numbers if he wasn't a switch hitter? Well, Buggin, I'll tell you this. I'm of the thought that Ozzie should go from the right side, and I'll tell you why. I thought this prior because his speed through the zone's a lot slower on the left side, especially when it's high. He's got some homers doing that, don't get me wrong, but on a consistent basis, there's a lot of swings and misses high in the zone on a fastball from the lefty side on Ozzie. Look at the postseason footage last year. He did not switch hit last year in the postseason. He stayed righty, no matter what side the pitcher was pitching from. And I think that tells you something. He's definitely more comfortable from the right side. If it means that he's more comfortable that he can get a hit, in a postseason matchup, I think that tells you all you need to know. And I think he could. Now, granted, he's a great switch hitter, but I think he'd be better on the righty side. I think he's more consistent on the righty side, and I think if he just focused on the right side, he'd be a lot better. But then again, there's a talent to switch hitting, so who am I to tell him what to do? I just think if it happened, it would be really good for him. Charlie Burnett says, what are your thoughts of Ozuna? Going into the season, there was a lot of talk about what the Braves should do with Ozuna, whether or not they should trade him. I was of the thought that he'd probably stay, but I was also of the thought that, if they were going to trade him, here I gave a couple examples of how they could. I said that potentially, this is back before, Eddie Rosario was signed and the conversation was still being had about Soler. I said that potentially you could trade Marcel Ozuna for prospects, to a team that is competing and give them a ready-made DH, because right now everybody kind of needed a DH to start out the season. And I thought that could bring you some valuable prospects, especially since the Braves farm system fell down to, I think, number 17, and that's before the Matt Olson trade where we traded a bunch of prospects, right? A bunch of good prospects, Christian Pache and Shea Langoliers, to name a couple. So I pitched that and then re-signed Soler for a family-friendly deal, if you get what I'm saying. And Rosario, save that money and give somebody else the contract. But I also thought that Ozuna was a ready-made DH. You can say what you want about the off-the-field stuff. I'm kind of done talking about it, to tell you the truth. So far, he's come in and put the team on his back in a lot of ways. And he's shown that he wants to be in Atlanta. He's shown that he wants to be on that team. And he's shown that he wants to contribute. And so far, he has. We'll see how long it continues for. But if he's 2020 Ozuna for 162, I'm excited. I'll leave it at that. SIE tuning in. They say, hey, how you doing, man? Jameson says, okay, let's go Braves. Good to hear from you, Jameson Meza. Always glad to see Jameson in the chat. Carlos Boria says, we need for our offense to start hitting like they used to do. I know when Acuna comes back, it will make a difference, but they need to start hitting before that. I agree. Completely agree. Skylar Baker wants to know the matchup for tomorrow. I haven't seen anything. I assume for the Braves it's going to be Freed. For the Dodgers, probably Walker Buehler, I would guess anyway. I don't see, let me look up, hang on a second. I'll tell you for sure. Let me make sure I get the correct information before I just go rattling something off. I want to say it's Walker Buehler Freed, but that, could be incorrect. All right, yep. So tomorrow is Walker Buehler versus Max Fried. Wednesday will be Charlie Morton versus Tony Gonsolin. And I think we really need to win. All right, so when I break down series, right, when I break down games that the Braves can win, right, I always look at what the best game, is there for the Braves to potentially win. Right now, tonight's not the night. And I'm not saying they're not going to win. I'm not saying that. But tonight wouldn't be the night I would choose if I'm really giving you a game that I think they can win. They can win any game, really. But with Max Fried on the mound, Charlie Morton on the mound, I feel a little bit more confident, especially considering, Max Fried's facing Walker Buehler. They're pretty even to me. Right now, Max Fried's had a rough start. Walker had a pretty good start. Morton has had it up and down, and he's facing Tony Gonsolin, who the Braves seem to kill offensively. So maybe facing Tony Gonsolin will light up the offense. But for right now, I that's how I view it. But yeah, tonight it'll be Walker Buehler. It'll be Huascar Ynoa versus Clayton Kershaw. Tomorrow will be Walker Buehler versus Max Fried, and Wednesday will be Charlie Morton versus Tony Gonsolin. So that's the matchup tomorrow, Skyler. All right, Jameson says, okay, Shuffle concerned about the pitching matchup in tonight's sort of concerned about the pitching matchup in tonight's game, as you should be. I mean, it's a Hall of Famer that we're facing. I would be too. Richard Davis says he's not saying that Acuna will carry the team. It will be like a big trade for a good player. Someone new, the team will get a big lift. I think so too. I mean, if the trade deadline showed us anything last year, it's, players coming in matter. It definitely does. And I think it'll just be a big boost, on the confidence side of things. It'll be a big boost on the energy. It'll be a big boost, obviously, at the plate. But also just, it'll be a big boost to have him back and know he's in the lineup every day, right? Preston Young, what are your thoughts on Ronald Acuna's swag? I'm talking about when Freddie Freeman said that Ronald's hair couldn't be a certain length, he couldn't wear sunglasses over the hat, and the eye black situation. I think it's two guys that have a very different view of the organization and how baseball should be played. To be honest with you, I don't really care about it. I remember when it came out. I don't think, either one of those guys is taking it as serious as fans are and as media is, because frankly, media is looking for a headline, right? That's how I work for the news, guys. That's how it works. We look for headlines. They're looking for something to get everybody talking and everybody clicking their article. Nothing wrong with it, but that's how it goes. So with that said, I think that, even Ronald Acuna basically came out and said, it's overblown, which I tend to believe it was. I don't know how many of you guys I told this to, but I told one stream this. I reached out to my former Spanish teacher and had him translate what was said, and he even said that it was a bit overblown. So I don't think it's as big a deal as a lot of people are making it out to be. I think the game's changing. I think Freddie had every good intention there, but at the same time, I think, I don't care what he wears. I don't care how long his hair is. I don't care if he's got, Mr. T-level gold chains around his neck. As long as he's putting up good numbers, I don't care. And I think that's how the game is evolving, and I think that's where we're going. Now, we'll see how it goes. It'll probably at some point flip back. Personally, I grew up watching Chipper Jones, so I like when a player, is a little bit classy and puts their heads down when they run the bases after a home run, but I also like a good bat flip every now and then. So, I think everybody's different. I think you have to appreciate a player for who they are. Ronald Acuna is full of swag. Freddie Freeman is not. He's a great player, but that's not who he is. He's a straight-laced player, and they're very different, in personality, and I think they clashed a bit. But it's nothing to focus on. It's nothing to go in tonight thinking about. Acuna's not even in the game, so we'll see. But right now, I don't think so. Corey Carter, he says tonight is what you would call a stack deck against the Braves. I don't know if that's a pun because you're watching On Deck, but yeah, I would say so. I think it's going to be a tough night for the Braves. But then again, I think, Huascar Ynoa could flip on a dime, man. You never know. I need Huascar to break out. So that, I have a few things that I watch for in games, and Huascar Ynoa is my pick to click tonight if I have one. I need him, and when I say pick to click, I'm not picking him to click. I'm picking him that he needs to click. He needs to be the guy that clicks tonight. We got to see some improvement out of Huascar Ynoa if he's going to be a consistent face in the starting rotation. And we got to see him, but honestly, we got to see him change a lot if we're going to win tonight. But that's how I feel about that. But I appreciate the comment there, Corey. June Mitchell, good to hear from you. They say, let's go Bravos, Team Braves. Buggin says Freeman's going 0 for 4 tonight. Maybe. Matt Olson is going 2 for 4. Maybe. Jameson Meza says, okay, I want a standoff between the two first basemen tonight. Well, if one of them gets on base, you'll see it. But we'll have to wait and see how it goes. SIE says hopefully the Braves win tonight. Hopefully. Sparrow Empire says Freddie will either go 3 for 4 or 0 for 4. He's going to try his hardest to incinerate us. He's definitely got, some motivation, I would say. I mean, he did finish his letter to Atlanta by saying see you in October. So he's definitely got some motivation, and I definitely think that that's coming. Jameson says, okay, he's wondering, is there any concern about the Braves and to come back late? Oh, okay. Is there any concern about the Braves and coming back late this year because we are currently 0-6 when trying late in the game? Oh, I get what you're saying. Let me see. I got a super chat, but I'm going to finish this one with Jameson. Sorry, guys. I lost my spot. All right. Wondering if there was any concern about the Braves and coming back late in games because we are currently 0-6 when trying late in the game. I mean, sure, right? I mean, you never set yourself up for success when you're coming back late in the game. You just don't. It's not a good, it's not a good way to go about things. I think getting an early lead is always helpful. And, the thing about it is, especially for the Braves, if they get an early lead, look at their pen. Use your pen. Get the early lead. Your pen will shut it down, right? That's how I feel. But we'll see. June Mitchell says that they believe that the Braves will prevail. It's not how you start, but how you finish. Completely agree. Corey says he'll be shocked if the Braves can pull this out tonight. This has revenge game written all over it. It sure does. It definitely does. That's kind of why I'm doing this video, because I want to lead in. Tonight may not be the night, but I think the Braves could very well win the series on the back end based on who's on the mound. Because, I mean, guys, they got Kershaw on the mound tonight. We got Fried on the mound tomorrow night. Morton on the mound Wednesday night. So I think that the Braves could very well win this series. I think you're going to see a bunch of highlights from this series. Especially based on how MLB's been posting Freddie Freeman lately, you're going to see something about this game out there. Don't let it anger you too much, but I get it if it does. Guys, we are wrapping this up at 10 o'clock on the dot. I got to finish up so I can watch the game tonight and sit back and watch that and see how it goes so I can talk about it with you potentially tomorrow. But while you're here, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, all of that, so we can, of course, expand to a broader audience and grow the channel. I really do appreciate it. All right, let's move to this super chat. It's from Skylar Baker. Do I think flash flood videos are entertaining? Skylar, I got to be honest with you. I don't watch flash flood videos for fun. I don't know. Are they entertaining? I'm asking you. Now, I work for the news, so we do a lot of weather coverage, but I've never... Honestly, I've never watched flash flood videos. Is that a joke that I'm missing, or is that serious? And I'm being completely. I have no idea. If anybody in the chat knows what this means, please tell me, because I don't know if it's a joke that's appropriate to teach. I don't know what the joke here is, but I wouldn't say yes necessarily because I don't watch flash flood videos. But I do appreciate the super chat. And of course, guys, if you want your question answered right now so you can hightail it on out of here and go to bed with peace, make sure you super chat and I'll be glad to answer it. And of course, it supports the channel. It all goes to one fund and it supports the channel and allows it to grow. It helps me buy equipment. Of course, we had some equipment go down the other day. I took money straight out of the fund to buy that, replacement equipment, and it helped a lot. Skylar says the power of Mother Nature is entertaining. I will say that I've watched some tornado videos that are pretty entertaining, not ones that are affecting homes or damaging homes, but, just tornadoes, because I've actually been on tornado chases, and they are thrilling, to say the least. I was I want to say about within a mile radius of a level 3, whatever that is, level 4 tornado a while back. I don't care if I ever do that again. But it was cool while I did it. Don't care to ever do it again, though. All right, let's get back into the chat. Appreciate the super chat, but I got to move on. Let's start with Richard Davis. Braves can't afford to wait on people to get it together this year. They will pull the trigger a little faster on players, I think. Maybe. Maybe. But I think, this early in the season, we're 11, 12 games in? I think it's a little too quick. to pull a guy like Rosario, if that's who you're referring to. Dickerson, I would agree with, but Rosario has proven that he can be an elite bat. He can be a consistent bat if given, the chances. I think he's got to work himself out of this. Whatever it is, whatever the slump here is, I think he's got to work himself out. I don't think him going down to AAA is the answer. He's got to face Major League pitching because that's the pitching that's giving him trouble. Jameson says, yes, even Chris Mellon started out of the bullpen that one amazing year they had for us. Medlin. Yeah, Chris Medlin started out of the pen. That's right. Bill Gates says, do you know if... Oh, geez. Bill. Why do you do this, Bill? I don't want to do this. I can't talk about stuff like that. All right, Sparrow Empire. Guys, most likely outcome is Alex grabs a veteran arm. I think they learned their lesson after giving Kyle Wright a full AAA season. I agree with you. I think, AA does a really good job of fixing issues right then and there, right? He does a really good job of taking a problem and solving it. A couple of years ago, we were down starting pitching. He did what he could. He went and got Robbie Erlin and Tommy Malone. None of us were thrilled about it, but we understood that the market was not there to go get anybody else, right? And what he does makes sense. Last year at the trade deadline, what he did made sense, and he finally is getting the praise he deserves. I agree with you. I think, there is young pitchers there. Bryce Elder has come out of nowhere, but at the same time, he might not be ready. He might need more in AAA. He might need more, time spent in the minors. And there's nothing wrong with that. Kyle Muller probably needs more time in the minors. Tucker Davidson needs more time in the minors. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't disagree that they may get a veteran arm, but at the same time, the market's got to be there at the deadline. And I don't think it's going to be there until the deadline. So we'll see, but I agree with you completely there. That's Sparrow Empire. I appreciate that, and hope you're subscribed. Daniel Bonner says he loves me. I appreciate that, Daniel. I really, truly do. I hope you have liked the video since you love me so much and have subscribed. But we do appreciate any love you show the channel and to me. Richard Davis says, that is the reason Strider is pitching 60 pitches. Halfway stretching him out. Next step up will be 80. And the reason he is pitching about every 5 days. Maybe, but it's hard to know. I definitely think Strider could be a starter, but he's been so good out of the pen. I think he can do a little bit of anything right now. I think they're kind of figuring out what his role is going to be before they officially make him anything. But yeah, it's certainly been fun to watch him right now. Let's see. Corey Carter says Kenley Jansen releases the ball 2 seconds after he comes set every single time. Makes it easier to time him. Possibly. I got asked about the whole debacle between him and the... I actually was asked about the debacle between him and the ump the other night, and I hadn't seen it. I didn't know how serious it was, so I couldn't really comment on it. But now that I have... and when I say I hadn't seen it, it's because I'm working on this that I just didn't pay attention to it. The game was over, so I kind of went and focused on other stuff. But now that I've seen it, what a crazy chain of events. It's nobody's, I think, actually Trevor Bauer did a video on it, and he explained it really well, from a pitcher's point of view and an ump's point of view, and he basically blamed the league for not specifying what the rules are. And, we'll see, but... It was a crazy debacle, but I mean, Kenley Jansen's gonna, I think with Kenley, as time goes on, we may flirt with, if he struggles, you may flirt with putting somebody else in that role. Don't know if that's necessarily in the works at the moment, but I get what you're saying there for sure. Skylar Baker, Elder got lucky last night. It could have been a lot worse. Way too many walks. Well, that's what comes when you got a young pitcher. He's got to work through that. I mean, we've seen it before. This isn't unfamiliar territory. We've seen it out of Kyle Wright, Tucker Davidson, a lot of these guys. We'll see. But, Elder's got a lot of growth he's got to have before he can be, to his full potential for sure. Skylar says he actually likes A-Rod better on the K-Rod broadcast because... Okay, I'm sorry, hang on. I actually like A-Rod better on the K-Rod broadcast because better than him commenting the plays. Yeah, K-Rod's been pretty good, but A-Rod in the booth has never been my favorite. I like him as a kid, I wore number 13 for A-Rod, and it didn't really age that well. But, he was a good player back in the day. I don't particularly love his commentating, but, I don't pay his salary, so, it's hard. I don't like criticizing broadcasters, but if I'm going to listen to somebody, especially commentate the Braves, I want it to be Chip Carey and or Joe Simpson and Ben Ingram. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Jeff Rancour's not too bad himself. Willie Driscoll, what's your prediction on the outcome for Freddie's first at bat? See, y'all get so specific with these things. I'm going to go clean single to center field. That fair? That's what I'm going with. Jameson says, you're responding to somebody. He says he's happy to see that Christian Pache is doing really well for the Oakland A's. Me too. I don't know what the stats are, but I've seen some highlights from him. I am a Pache fan. I thought it made sense that we needed to trade him because there's really nowhere for him anymore. And I think we had kind of passed his time in that regard. However, I met Pache a few times, and he was nothing but nice to me. He signed autographs for my little brother. He was nothing but nice. I have not a bad word to say about Christian Pache. I actually witnessed his postseason homer a few years ago in 2020 in the bubble. So, I like Christian Pache. I hope he has a great career. It just, it didn't make sense for the Braves at the time. Yosemite says, I don't want to beat Freddie, but I do want the Braves to quiet the LA media. It's almost as annoying as the NLCS. Well, at least they're not coming down and talking about our Waffle House. Right? I mean, it is what it is, guys. They probably hate Atlanta media. I'm sure they hate you guys on Twitter because you guys give them all kinds of grief. But keep doing it. Max Cruz says, do you think Freddie let everyone be themselves last year in the postseason because he knew he had an option to leave? Guys like Jock expressed themselves, and Freddie didn't stop them. It also got a World Series win. Well, I think... how do I word this? I think Freddie knew that Acuna was the new generation, right? I think he knew that was going to be the Braves' product, right? Jock was never going to be the Braves' product. He just wasn't. He's not the Braves' product. He had great moments with the Braves. He had a great time with the Braves, but he wasn't the Braves' product. He wasn't their star product. Acuna was going to have to lead the charge, and I think he was trying to, help set the example like those that did before him, with him. So, you can look at the locker room drama, Max. I get it. I just don't really like partaking in it. I understand both sides. I get, as a rookie coming in and having somebody tell you not to be yourself, and then on the other end, having to hold up the expectations of an organization as the guy that has done it for the past few years, in Freddie Freeman's case. So I get both sides. I don't think it's as serious as been made out to be. Some guys just don't get along, or some guys just don't like working with folks. I use this analogy all the time. Think about the folks you work with. There's some folks you love being around. There's some folks you can't stand to be around, but you got to be around them, right? That's how I think the situation is. Let's see. Jameson says, I definitely agree. Love watching some severe weather every now and then. Well, come down to Columbus, Georgia, because we have plenty of it. They call me in all the time for overtime on severe weather. So, for sure. Elijah Smith. This is an interesting question. What is your least favorite team in the MLB? Ugh. I don't have like a least favorite, right? Like, I think all teams have their goods and bads, right? I think it's easy for a lot of people to say the Yankees, but I'm not a Yankee hater. That's not who I am. To tell you the truth, it's probably the Dodgers, and that's just personal beef, right? Because, and I'll tell you why. It's not what you think. It's not what, it's not, the idea of, it's not because LA beat us in the postseason. It's nothing like that. It's really not. When we went to the bubble a few years ago, it was the game where Kyle Wright gave up all the home runs and got shelled in the first inning. It was that game. I was there with two friends, and we got absolutely mauled by LA fans. I mean, we were surrounded by them. They yelled and screamed at us, not so nice names. And we didn't, I'll be honest with you, I know there's a lot of videos out there about fans acting up, mutually acting up and causing ruckus. We didn't. My friends are crazy, but they didn't do anything to have that called on to them except for wearing Braves gear. And ever since then, I've had a little bit more of a bias. It's like, oh, okay, you guys are disrespectful. And I don't think all Dodger fans are like that. I have plenty of friends that are Dodger fans and that kind of thing that just like to, mess with me, and that kind of thing. But ever since then, that's probably it. But I don't have a least favorite team. I think they're our biggest competitor. Just as a team, I don't hate the Dodgers. I don't understand what their manager's doing half the time, but that's beside the point. Richard Davis says Muller is pitching good in the minors. He's been pitching good in the minors for a couple of years. Muller was my favorite guy in the minors last year. I was there. Hang on. I was there when. Hang on a second. I was there when Muller, like the day before Muller came up, right? Here. This is video from the day Muller came, the last start he had in the minors before he got called up to the major leagues. I was there. I wanted to go see him before he got called up. I wanted an up-close look. This is the seat right behind home plate. I wanted to get footage of him so I could have it. And by the way, guys, Gwinnett, this is the kind of experience you're going to have. You can watch Ronald Acuna from this seat if you just go to Gwinnett tomorrow night and maybe even Thursday night. But, I personally, Kyle Muller was one of my favorites. I love his attitude. I love the way he carries himself. He's a great pitcher. He's a big dude, by the way. Super tall, super just strong dude. But he's also a very good pitcher, and he carries himself like he's been there before. And I think that's important. And I think he's one of the next guys to come up, and I think he'll perform. Let's see. All we have is today. It says, I don't see why people want Strider as a starter. He only throws fastball and a slider. He needs more options. I do agree with that. He had a few long at-bats last night because guys have a 50-50 chance of guessing the next pitch. I agree with you, and I think that's kind of why I'm stuck in between, because I think he can be a starter if he throws in a couple extra pitches, but he's got to learn those. That's why I think he may start as a bullpen, test some stuff out, maybe work on it, and evolve into a starter. But right now, I think he's going to be in the pen until he learns. He might have a spot start because he's unhittable right now, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be like that all the time. Richard Davis says the only reason Ozuna is at DH tonight is because the lefty is pitching. Same reason Arcia and Heredia are starting. I know, I agree. Skylar Baker, how much do those apartments cost at the Battery Atlanta? Skylar, I will tell you this, I don't know, but Google does. I apologize, but I have no answer for you. Wilmer Chinchilla, good to see you. I don't know what question you're talking about, but I'm a pretty nice guy in general, I think. Let me see. Mab. Tyler, do you still think Eddie Rosario is more consistent than Jorge Soler? He wasn't consistent at all before he came to Atlanta. Now he's hitting for an average of .032. Soler is better. We'll see at the end of the year. We're only 12 games in. I will say that I didn't expect Rosario to have such a rocky start, but I don't think anybody did. We'll see, but I don't know. Right now, Soler is a great player. I never said Soler wasn't. I think Eddie is a better fielder. I think Eddie is a more consistent, this is what I said, and I don't want you to misquote me here. Soler is a lot like Ronald Acuna in the sense that he hits homers, he hits bombs, and there's a lot of guys in there that strictly do that. Eddie Rosario is a guy that gets base hits when need be. I'll stand by that. Just because he's had a couple of bad games or 12 bad games, whatever you want to give it to him, I'm not going to turn my back on my word, and I'm not going to turn my back on what a lot of other people agreed with. I would have loved to have kept Soler, but there wasn't a spot for him. Eddie wanted to be back. The Braves wanted him back. And I think a guy like that who performed so well in the postseason, not to say he deserves to be rewarded with a contract, but it makes sense as to why he got one. I get Soler was the World Series MVP. I understand that. But Eddie Rosario performed up and down that last stretch of the season. You cannot convince me otherwise. And he might be a streaky hitter, but I think he's got the potential to be consistent. Sometimes calls don't work out. I'll stand by what I said. I completely agree with what I said. And we'll just have to see how it goes for right now. But yes, I still think Eddie Rosario will be more consistent than Jorge Soler when the dust settles. And if you don't believe me, you can look at their career stats. But yes, I still believe that will be the case at the end of the year. And if not, it is what it is. But I think at the time, it's easy to look at something with hindsight. right? It's easy to say, oh, that guy predicted, the Dodgers to win the World Series last year. Well, if you had looked at opening day, the Dodgers probably were a very good guess to win the World Series last year. They probably were a very good guess at the All-Star break too, right? So were the Mets. Not so much at the end of the year, right? Anything can be predicted with hindsight. I didn't have hindsight. And to be fair, I don't necessarily think that I was wrong yet. I think Eddie Rosario could very well turn it around very quickly and pop off. Hasn't happened yet, but hopefully it does. I sincerely hope it does. I'm an Eddie Rosario fan, no doubt about it. I bought his jersey today. But at the same time, I really hope that he turns it around. I think we need him to. Sparrow Empire says, let me see. Freddie simply tried to show Ronnie the organization rules. Think of it like Yankees shaving rules. Freddie just said today Heredia is one of his favorite teammates ever. He wasn't trying to control Ronald. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of tired of talking about it, to tell you the truth. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. That's really between them. Hopefully they talk it out and move on. Skylar Baker, what about after... Oh, sorry. Jake Hobby, good to hear from you, man. Jake Hobby is one of the biggest supporters via social media. By the way, you can follow me on social media at bubblegum_Jesus. I believe the links are down below. They are. Twitter and Instagram are down below, so make sure you go follow there. A lot of you guys have been active on Twitter today. Really appreciate that. Instagram's a good place to go if you just want to follow me casually, but Twitter's where I let loose on opinions that I don't say here sometimes. But we'll see. He says that Muller is who I would call up if Ynoa is sent down. Yeah, Muller's my guy, man. I really like Muller. I think Muller is the future. I think he's going to be a guy. I think he's a starter. Strider, you're debating on whether or not he is a starter. I think Muller is a starter. And if Ynoa can't make it, if Ynoa can't be the guy, I completely agree with you. Right now he's pitching well, and, call him up when he's hot. I completely agree. Daniel Fowler tuning in. He says, hey, Tyler, stopping by to say, hey, you better stay around. He says he's ready for the Braves game. By the way, guys, we're getting off in 15 minutes, so if you want your question answered, put in a super chat, and I'll answer it now. Question you have... Okay. Question, have you watched Ken Burns' documentary on baseball? I recently rewatched it. Love learning about Hall of Fame from the early era pre-1910. I have the entire case in DVD form up on the top shelf. I watch it, it's something I always refer back to. And I know it's probably on demand somewhere, but I have it on DVD. But anyway, yeah, I've watched it a ton. There is some inaccuracies in there. Ty Cobb most notably, and even Ken Burns has come out and said that. I have a personal thing with Ty Cobb. I'm from Georgia. Ty Cobb's from Georgia. If you've never been to the Ty Cobb Museum in Royston, I deeply encourage you to go. It's a little thing. It won't take you long to go through. I have a Ty Cobb model bat over there that I bought from that place. I absolutely love it. It's got a lot of great memorabilia in there, a lot of his personal items, and of course, he's one of the greatest hitters of all time, and I'll stand by that as well. But anyway, there's some inaccuracies about him in there. The myths that you hear about Ty Cobb are very overblown, and there's a lot of them out there. Don't believe everything you hear. When you do the research, trust me, I have. When you do the research, you find out stuff that you just won't believe. Stuff that was written about him that's so far off. And a good place to start is by going to that museum. So, Daniel, I don't know if you've done it, but I would encourage you, if you like that stuff, go to Royston, go check out the Ty Cobb Museum. Jameson Meza, hang on, what are you saying, Jameson? Okay, be honest. At the time of the three possible guys for a brown bag, Jock Peterson, because of the attitude he gave it to the team during the postseason. Look, I love Jock Peterson. I really, really do. But at the same time, I didn't see him being an everyday player for the Braves. That's just kind of how I feel. Mab, hey Tyler, do you think Ynoa has lost it? 15 ERA, bad in spring training, has never been the same since he broke his hand, in my opinion. Sure. But how long has it been since he broke his hand? I'm not quick to judge folks, right? Look, I've been showing you this graphic all night long, right? I've been showing you this Ynoa splits graphic for the first half and second half of last year. And, as much as this graphic means, it only predicts the past. Ynoa's got good stuff. He really does. He hasn't had good numbers here as of late, but a 15 ERA is in one start. ERA can fluctuate like nobody's business in one start. So it's a little unfair to use that against him. I mean, yeah, he wasn't great in spring training, but I don't know if he's lost it. I don't know if that's the word I'd use. I think he's going through a rough patch, but I don't know if he's lost it. Shadow Gray 760 says Stanton hit one long. It's going, it's gone, it's caught. The ball has been caught. I read that as if it was true, and I regret it now. Sparrow Empire, our biggest issue is the outfield. Ronald doesn't need to be playing center field, and having Duvall play center field full-time is not ideal. Well, Duvall's a pretty serviceable center fielder. I know he might not want to play center field. I've heard that, but at the same time, if that's what it's got to be, that's what it's got to be. I would rather risk that than risk Acuna stretching himself out too far. So, maybe stick Rosario out there. He's pretty good in the field, but we'll see how it goes. I don't know. Richard Davis, they needed a left-handed bat is why they picked Eddie over Soler. And that's just another reason. I mean, you can argue consistency all you want, but they did not have one left-handed bat at the time that they re-signed Eddie Rosario. Or outside of Matt Olson, the new acquisition. That was it. And, I think that was important. And I think that's a fundamental reason why they brought it. Thanks for that, Richard. I appreciate it. Shadow Gray says, will Acuna still lead off when he's back? I like Ozzie leading off lately. I agree. I don't think he's going to start out leading off. The more thought I've given to it, because he's coming back from injury, specifically a leg injury, I don't think he's going to be stealing as many bases. I mean, I could be wrong there. We've seen him steal some bases in practice, but, we'll see. We'll see. Skylar Baker wants to know, what position did you play in high school? I played the bleachers. I did not play baseball in high school. I wrestled in high school. I played as a kid, and I moved into wrestling. I was okay. I could hit pretty good back as a kid, but I couldn't field worth anything. The day I told the story, I think a couple streams ago, I caught a ball, and it was in like the championship game, and that was my last game. That ended the game, and it made the paper. That was it. That was all I had in me to play. I retired at the same time Chipper Jones did back in 2012. But it was a fun ride while it lasted. But yeah, I didn't play in high school. I wrestled. But I loved the game. I followed the game. I researched the game like nobody's business. But yeah, I was a pretty good wrestler. 2-time state qualifier. Team captain senior year. I had a good time wrestling. I was a much better wrestler than I ever was a baseball player, to tell you the truth. Let me see. Jameson says, he read the documentary done by Ken Burns, but Game of Baseball is amazing. I've watched it many times over and over, for sure. Corey Carter says, Sticker says that Acuna will go back to leadoff when he returns. I think that's up to his ability. I'd heard that, but I'm not entirely sure. I think they're going to ease him in some form or fashion, because if he starts out at DH, I doubt they're going to put him at, leadoff, unless he just wants to be there. I don't see how that makes a whole lot of sense. Shadow Grace, for those who don't know, I was referencing the Yankees radio announcer the other day. Poor guy's getting old. Yeah, that was unfortunate. Richard Davis, they are talking to Freddie on pregame, and he cried. Well, guys, sometimes you get emotional. I don't know what to tell you. Let's see. Jonathan Roberson, he says, I have to keep reminding myself that we've only played 11 games. I think a lot of people need to remind themselves that we've only played 11 games. Thank you for that, Jonathan. Jonathan is a good friend of mine here in Columbus. I don't know how many streams he watches, but he's a big supporter of the channel, big supporter of me, and I do appreciate it. Recently married, has a dog, also has another ring he recently got at the Braves game, but also a very good friend of mine. Thanks for tuning in, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Sparrow Empire says, everyone is assuming Ynoa is good as his first half last year. This might be the biggest mistake we are making as fans. Probably. I mean, you have to take it into context. You can't just go in assuming that, any player is going to be as good as they were last year when they've had a hand injury in between. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair to I don't think that's fair to yourself. I think it's a lot of expectation to have on one guy. But yeah, I agree. Mab says, the journalist who bashed Cobb decades ago has been proven a hack. He was banished from writing about baseball and followed around Cobb to revive his career and lied in the process to sensationalize. Indeed, he did. Al Stump is the guy you're looking for. He is in the Ty Cobb movie, and it is very embellished. Skylar Baker said, oh, sorry, you're talking to somebody. Jake Hobby, Freddie was being interviewed on Bally. He got teary-eyed saying he loves Braves country. Look, I don't doubt that Freddie loves Braves country. I fully believe he loves Braves country. I think it's great that he does. We'll give him one cheer, and then we're gonna move on. And we got to root against him after that. Do me a favor, guys. Like the video while you're here. We're gonna be wrapping up in just a few minutes. Get your questions in, and I'll get to as many as I can. But subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Before I get into these last few questions, I want to promote this one last time. I think it's important that I do this now before I forget and before you guys leave. Will Smith will be doing an autograph signing in Marietta on Thursday night. I will be there. So not only will you get to meet Will Smith, you get to meet me if you want to. It will be at Ducks Dugout. You can get more information on ducksdugout.com. The prices are right there. They will have baseballs and photos available for purchase if need be. If you want to check out the rest of their inventory, it's on ducksdugout.com. They also have some more signings coming up if you want to check out those as well. They've recently had Austin Riley. They had Eddie Rosario right after the Braves won the World Series. They've had a lot of big guys, and they're worth checking out, I promise. So ducksdugout.com. And, of course, I will be there as well, so come and see me if you want to. I see Shadow Grace. Will Tyler be giving out autographs? Shadow Grace, I will tell you this. I get picked on a lot for my autograph, okay? I have this nervous tick. Sorry about this, but I got to stop with the comments. I'll go a little longer if I can. I have this nervous tick where I sign my name all the time, okay? And I'm going to do it for you just so you get what I'm saying. But I have this thing where I sign my name all the time, right? And because of that, I have a beautiful signature. I never get to show it off. I never get to sign any autographs. So if you want my autograph, I'll be glad to give it to you. But come to the Will Smith signing and I'll do it. So yeah, there's my autograph. If you want it, I'll give it to you. I'll sign a baseball if you want me to. I'll take a picture with you, whatever. But come to the Will Smith thing. If you know me, say something to me. I'll be glad to get a picture with you. I'll be glad to do whatever you want. And I'll shout you out on the channel just for the heck of it. How about that? But yeah, I will be there, and I'll be glad to give out autographs if you want, for sure. Mad Map says, hey, Tyler, do you know of a former high school, college Atlanta wrestler named Kyle Maynard? Yes, I do. No arms, no legs, always beat me in wrestling. He even made the cover of ESPN magazine and is famous now. I'm very familiar with him. There's another guy, I think, with no legs that won state a while back. That was pretty good. I don't know if he had arms, though. I saw a guy with one arm pin one of our guys one time. So it's nothing too out of the ordinary. I don't know what the science is there, but glad I never had to face any of those guys. But yeah, for sure. I love wrestling, don't get me wrong, but I've kind of evolved out of it. It's been a while since I've been in there. I can still go when I need to, though. I can surprise some people. A lot of people get surprised if they try me, but it's fun, for sure. Let me see. Rigged and Skylar, I hear you. Yeah, if you want one, I'll be glad to. Mab, hey Tyler, if I go to the Will Smith signing, is he going to slap me if I talk about baldness or refer to his lack of hair as G.I. Jane? People named Will Smith are known to do that about baldness. Yeah, I keep telling people that I'm going to interview Will Smith Thursday because I more than likely am while I'm there, and I keep getting all these crazy looks like, what? And I have to explain it's not that Will Smith, so that's kind of funny. But yeah, it's I hope not. I mean, I wouldn't go trying if I were you. Richard Davis says 5 down, 111 wins to go in the regular season. Wasn't it 112? Now we're predicting what? 116? Man, you're really going up on me, Richard. All right, guys, 5 more minutes. Get your questions in, and then I'm out of here. If you have anything at all, I will be glad to answer it. Before I go one last time, I'm just going to do it for the heck of it to pay the bills and make sure I'm good to go. Will Smith will be signing Thursday night at Ducks Dugout in Marietta, Georgia, 5:30 start time. The prices are as follows, as you can see. Again, I will be there. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to speak with you. I try to talk baseball with you as long as I can, unless I'm busy. But I do try to do as much as I can. If you want to get a picture, I'll be glad to. If you want my autograph, I'll be glad to give it to you. It's not worth anything. It might lessen the value of your ball, but I'll be glad to do it if you really want it, for sure. All right, let's answer these last few questions. Then I'm going to wrap it up, and we're going to go enjoy Braves baseball. Okay, is that all right with everybody? Is that cool with everybody? We're going to do that. All right, so Mab says, Tyler, I didn't know you knew about Kyle Maynard. I actually had to wrestle that guy. Mab, I'll tell this story. And I don't tell this story very often because it's embarrassing, but I'll tell this story. When I wrestled, I was a senior, and I was at sectionals, okay? I was like a 3 seed, okay? And I was a 4 seed, and I was facing a 1 seed, okay? So I go up there, and I was good, but I wasn't like super strong or super quick. I was, I knew stuff. I was very smart. That's the best way I can put it. I knew what to do for me. Anyway, I wrestled this guy, and he was toothless. He had this crazy haircut. He had this tattoo on his thigh of the Olympic logo in all black. Okay, so I knew it. This ain't gonna be good. He was 50-1 was his record. I don't know what my record was, but his was 50-1. I remember that like it was yesterday. So I go out, and this kid just takes me down. Right, lets me up. I'm like, all right. Well, that was weird. Takes me down, lets me up. Takes me down, lets me up. Takes me down, lets me up. I'm like, so I get mad, right? Like, I'm furious. Like, well, this dude's just embarrassing me all over the floor. He takes me down and he pins me, and I get up and I'm furious, right? Full of rage, just ticked off because that was awful. I have to shake his hand. I go shake his coach's hand. His coach pulls me to the side. He goes, hey, I just want you to know he's going for the national takedown record today, and he's just trying to stock up on takedowns. He ended up getting the national takedown record in his next match. So he let me off the hook. I was not the guy that gave up the national takedown record, but I gave him about 7 or 8 for sure. So I wound up going to state after that, and it was a great run. But yeah, that was a terrible day. That was very embarrassing for sure. Philip Powell, no problem on that. Glad to do it. Philip, hope to see you there. Yeah, I will be there probably at 5:30. Got to leave Columbus and make about a 2.5 hour drive. And you guys know how Atlanta traffic is. So we'll see how it goes. But I will be there as soon as I can for sure. And we will be happy to see you there. Corey Carter says Ozzie Albies has a high leg kick that keeps him from being consistent. Pitchers can keep him off balance with breaking pitches. Sure, don't disagree there. Sorry, I got to be quick here, guys. King Yellowman, Will Smith getting smacked by Will Smith would break the internet. Didn't he already break the internet? I feel like a few times now. Van Winkle Project. Don't sleep too long there, Van Winkle. Who closes for us down the road? Spencer Strider. I don't know how long of down the road you're talking about, but Spencer Strider, I think is where I would go right now if you're talking about prospects. If you're talking about later this season, Will Smith or Kenley Jansen, maybe even Tyler Matzik. But that's the only 3. If all those 3 guys got hurt, AJ Minter. That would be the way I go to it. I couldn't tell you, Madman. I wish I could. I have no answer for you. I never faced anybody with that situation. Rigged wants to know who is my favorite Brave of all time. Probably that guy, Chipper Jones. I grew up watching him, so it's kind of an easy one to go to. In terms of guys that I've gotten to know, it's hard for me not to say Phil Niekro, but that's the thing. I know a lot of them. I genuinely know them. Phil Niekro was very good to me, always was. I mean, Hall of Famer, Hall of Fame person. Johnny Estrada's been really cool. Otis Nixon's cool. I got off the phone with Leo Mazzoni today. We're setting up an interview. He's cool. I mean, there's so many of them that are cool that it's really hard for me to pin down to one. If you're talking about purely on the field, Chipper Jones. If you're talking about off the field, I'd have to go Phil Niekro. I'd have to. There's no comparison there. Phil treated me like a friend. That's the best way I can put it. He made me feel like he knew me in a lot of ways, and he got to know me for sure. Let's see. Joe Mixon, if Dansby doesn't get it going, we won't have to worry about a contract next year. In fact, he may lose his job this season if he doesn't hit over 200 and Shoemake keeps doing good. They did a stat on Dansby the other day that I thought was a bit unfair to Dansby. They went and found some stat from 1913 that's so specific and so rare. It's like the first guy to strike out in all 10 games to start the season at least once. I don't know. Since 1913. It was really oddly specific. It's like, all right, guys, let's lay off a little bit here. But, yeah, it's been a rough start for Dansby. Hopefully he can turn it around. He's a friend of the channel. We like Dansby here. Hopefully he gets re-signed to a team-friendly deal and we get to watch the entirety of his career in Atlanta. But who knows, right? Jameson, let's go Braves. I'm going to tune out with that one last time just because I have to pay the bills, guys. One last time, here's Will Smith. Again, the pricing is right there. That's all you need to know. That's all the pricing. Again, ducksdugout.com. Make sure you go there to get all the information, to see all their inventory, to see everything. And, of course, again, I will be there on Thursday night. The link is in the chat if you need it. And, of course, I'm looking forward to seeing Philip Powell there. I'm looking forward to seeing anybody else who can make it. And, of course, meet the guy who, frankly, he's the guy that closed the World Series. This is the new Mark Wohlers. This is the guy who basically won the World Series for you. So come visit. Come get to know Will Smith. The good Will Smith. Not the bad Will Smith. The good Will Smith. But with that, guys, we're going to wrap it up. We appreciate you tuning in for sure. Obviously, always fun to talk baseball with you guys. No matter how much you try to challenge me and give me hard questions, I always love doing it. We may be back tomorrow night, depending on the schedule. Thursday night, we will not be around. We will be in Atlanta talking to Will Smith. But again, come see me there. I'll try to continue to remind you of that and continue to promote that so you guys can be there. And it'll be a lot of fun. So with that, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here on deck and, of course, all across the Atlanta Braves landscape. And, of course, make sure to also follow me on the social medias, Twitter, Instagram. The links are down below at bubblegum_Jesus. Make sure to follow me there. And, of course, go see Will Smith Thursday night. I will see you there, and I'll see you on the next stream, whether it be tomorrow or Wednesday. I will see you there. So with that, thank you guys. See you next time.